My Uber driver looked at me through the rearview mirror, his eyes sharp and focused. Without saying a word, he handed me a folded note. I thought he was joking until I read the words that made my heartbeat explode. Do not go home tonight. You are in danger. Trust me. I stared at him, confused, but then he spoke in a low, steady voice. I am a police officer. Someone is inside your house waiting for you. If you go home, they will hurt you. In that moment, everything around me faded. The streetlights, the quiet sound of rain against the windows, even the noise from my phone. None of it mattered. My life was no longer normal. It had just entered a nightmare I never saw coming. If you want to know what I saw on my home security camera that changed everything, stay with me. And before we go further, subscribe to this channel and comment where you are watching from. Your support helps me share more real stories that can save lives. My name is Ava Lawson. I am 32 years old, and 3 months ago, I thought the worst thing I would ever go through was my divorce. I was wrong. For the past few weeks, I had been trying to rebuild my life. I worked long hours at a marketing agency in downtown Chicago. I lived alone in a 2-bedroom house in a quiet suburban neighborhood. People walked their dogs every morning. Kids played on the sidewalks. It was the kind of place where you left your porch light on out of habit, not fear. My father, Derek, called me every evening just to hear my voice. He worried about me living alone, but I always told him I was fine. My younger brother, Ethan, an ex-military medic, checked on me through random texts like, "You lock your doors tonight?" or "Saw something weird on the news? Be careful." I would laugh it off, thinking he was being dramatic. Work had been stressful that week. I stayed late to prepare for a presentation. By the time I left the office, it was dark, and the parking lot was nearly empty. I requested an Uber because I was too tired to drive. When the car pulled up, it looked normal. A silver sedan, clean interior, driver wearing a baseball cap. He greeted me politely and confirmed my name. There was nothing strange about him until we pulled away from the curb. The first few minutes were silent. Then I noticed his grip tightening on the steering wheel. His posture was too rigid, like he was bracing for something. My phone buzzed with a notification from my home security app. It was just a motion alert. I ignored it. Probably my cat, Luna, jumping onto the couch. But then I heard a faint crackle from the car's dashboard. A police radio. He quickly switched it off. A police radio? I thought. My mind raced. Was he a retired officer? Was this a mistake? I was seconds away from texting my brother when he handed me that note. That was the moment my entire life changed. The note in my hand felt heavier than the phone I was gripping in my other fist. My breath caught in my throat as I stared at the words again, trying to process them, trying to convince myself this was a misunderstanding. But when I looked up, the Uber driver held my gaze in the mirror with an intensity that made my stomach twist. His voice was controlled but carried a warning that pierced through me. Do not react. Your house is being watched. A shiver ran down my spine. I pressed the note flat against my leg so the motion wouldn't look suspicious if anyone was watching us. I had the sudden urge to look out the windows to see if a dark vehicle was following us, but I was too afraid that any movement might signal whoever was watching. My phone buzzed again with another alert from my home security camera. This time, not a general motion alert, but a human detection warning. I opened the feed with my thumb trembling so badly I almost dropped the phone. The camera showed my living room, dimly lit by a corner lamp I always left on for my cat. Except Luna wasn't on her usual spot on the couch. Instead, a tall figure dressed in dark clothing was standing near my bookshelf, turning slowly, as if searching for something. My heart stopped. This wasn't a thief trying to grab a purse and run. This person was waiting. They were comfortable. They knew no one was supposed to arrive for a while. Chills raced down my arms. "Who is that in my house?" I whispered. The driver didn't turn around. "Keep your phone low. Don't let them see the reflection that you noticed." The realization hit me. If someone was inside my house, watching and waiting for me, then they were expecting me to walk through that door. They weren't afraid of my alarms or my cameras. They wanted me there. I tried to think logically. Had I made someone angry? Was this connected to my divorce? My ex-husband, Tyler, had left me for another woman, but he wasn't violent. We had arguments and bitter silence, but nothing that would lead to this. Then I remembered something. Last week I received an anonymous email with no subject line and only one sentence. "You should be more careful with your passwords." I had assumed it was spam, but now my chest tightened. Was someone watching me longer than I realized? Before I could speak, the driver finally revealed his full name. "My name is Detective Daniel Reyes. I'm currently working undercover on a human trafficking case tied to identity theft. Everything I'm about to tell you is classified, but I need you to stay calm. We believe your identity has been compromised, and you were targeted." The word targeted echoed in my mind like a bell. This wasn't random. Someone had chosen me. My pulse hammered so loudly I could hear it in my ears. "Why me? I haven't done anything," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Detective Reyes explained that earlier that day, during a raid on a suspected safe house, officers recovered a list of names, photos, and addresses. My name was on it, not just listed, highlighted. There were notes next to my picture, personal details that only someone close to me would know. My father's name, my job title, the make and model of my car, and worse, my routine. When I usually left for work, when I returned, even how often I ordered takeout. My throat went dry. The fact someone knew these details meant they had been watching me for weeks, maybe months. The detective said the break-in at my house was not a burglary. They weren't there to steal. They were there to take you, he said firmly. Instinctively, I reached for the door handle, as if I could escape from the truth, but the car was already moving faster, and I realized he had changed the route completely. Instead of heading toward my neighborhood, he turned toward the highway. Panic surged through me. "Where are you taking me?" I demanded. "To a safe location," he answered. "We couldn't warn you at your house because we believed it might be bugged. When you requested an Uber tonight, that pinged the system. Your profile flagged an immediate threat. I was the closest officer available, so I accepted the ride." I sat back, trying to breathe through the shock. Everything I considered normal, my home, my privacy, my safety, had been an illusion. Tears blurred my vision when I realized I didn't know who I could trust anymore. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from my brother. "Hey, are you home yet? Dad wants to talk to you." Another wave of dread washed over me. My family had no idea. I was about to warn Ethan when the driver spoke sharply. "Whatever you do, do not tell anyone you're in danger. We don't know who else is involved." That single sentence changed everything. It wasn't just my life at risk. If I made one wrong move, the people I loved could be next. My body felt weightless, as if every bone inside me had been replaced with air. Yet my chest carried the crushing weight of fear. Detective Reyes kept his eyes on the road, scanning the mirrors, while his voice remained calm but urgent. "You are not safe going home, and you cannot contact your family until we confirm their phones aren't compromised. Whoever is after you may be monitoring communications. My first instinct was to grab my phone and call my father, tell him to lock the doors, tell him not to let anyone near the house. But something stopped me. The memory of that man standing in my living room wasn't just a threat to me. It was a message. They were comfortable being caught on camera because they wanted me to see them. They wanted to trigger a reaction, force me to run home. It hit me like ice water. If someone wanted to capture me, using my love for my family would be their easiest strategy. My pulse raced even faster. What do they want with me? I asked, my voice shaking. Reyes said he didn't know if it was ransom, trafficking, or revenge, but he did know one thing. It's coordinated. Someone close to you is feeding them information. My mind went into overdrive. Who would betray me? I had cut off most toxic people from my life except my ex-husband's business partner, Cole Turner. He still had files linked to my old accounts because I once invested in one of their startup projects. I brushed the thought aside. It still didn't make sense. Why would someone like him go after me personally? Meanwhile, the car turned off the expressway onto a narrow road lined with trees. My breath hitched. I glanced at Detective Reyes, unsure whether to trust him, even after everything I had seen. My life depended on a man I had met only 20 minutes ago. I know you're scared, he said, as if reading my thoughts. Fear is what they're counting on. They want you to panic, but if you stay calm, we can control this. His words steadied me slightly, but a new alert flashed on my phone. My security system sent a still image from my kitchen camera. The intruder was now sitting comfortably at my dining table, waiting, like a hunter in his blind, patient and prepared. A surge of nausea rose in my throat. Then, a second chilling thought struck me. If he was waiting for me, and I was not coming home, what would he do next? Would he leave and target someone else I loved? Detective Reyes turned down the volume on his phone as it buzzed with encrypted updates from his team. He looked at me again through the mirror. We are heading to a temporary safe house. Once there, you have a decision to make. My hands clenched. What decision? He explained that the department had two options. The first was full protective custody. You vanish from your life immediately. Go completely dark until the threat is neutralized. No contact with anyone, not even family. The second option was more dangerous, but offered a chance to uncover the people hunting me. I would act normal, pretend I knew nothing, and help the police set a trap using me as bait. My heart pounded so fast it felt like it might burst. Leave everything behind and disappear? Or walk straight into danger knowingly? The idea of being isolated, cut off from my father and brother, made my chest tighten painfully. But the idea of returning to my regular life while someone was hunting me was worse. I imagined answering the doorbell tomorrow morning and being dragged from my own home. I imagined my father calling me again and again, wondering why I wasn't answering, unaware that I was gone. My decision could not be about fear. It had to be about control. The safe house came into view, a secluded brick structure surrounded by trees, with two unmarked SUVs parked in front. Detective Reyes slowed the car and turned to face me fully for the first time since this nightmare started. His voice was steady, but the weight of the moment was clear in his eyes. You have to decide right now. Do you want protection, or do you want to fight? In that instant, I remembered something my brother always said when we were kids and got scared during thunderstorms. Fear isn't the enemy. Doing nothing is. I took a deep breath. This wasn't just about survival. It was about reclaiming my life. If I ran, I would never stop running. If I fought, at least I would have a chance to end this nightmare for good. My voice came out steady, surprising even me. I'm not going to hide. If they want me, let's make them come. But this time, we'll be ready. Detective Reyes nodded, not with relief, but with respect. At that moment, I crossed a line. I was no longer the hunted. I was about to become the trap, and whatever waited next, I knew my life would never be the same. The moment I stepped into the safe house, I felt a heaviness in the air, not from the place itself, but from the knowledge that whatever illusion of safety I once had in my life was completely shattered. 2 federal agents stood inside, watching me carefully as Detective Reyes closed the door behind us. A large screen on the wall displayed live footage from my home security cameras, now connected directly to a police network. The intruder was still inside my house, sitting with one leg crossed over the other like he owned the place. He had no mask, no attempt to hide his identity, which told me this was personal. My entire body went rigid when another man appeared behind him, entering through my back patio door. The second man wore gloves and carried a laptop bag, which he set on my dining table. He opened it and connected a cable to a small device beneath my security camera. The feed flickered. One of the agents cursed under his breath. "They're trying to erase evidence." Reyes muttered something into his earpiece, and within seconds, the safe house came alive with urgency. Officers coordinated positions. Tactical teams moved, yet my eyes remained locked on the screen. The second man's face came into focus, and my heart nearly stopped. It was Cole Turner, my ex-husband's business partner. My mind rejected it, but the image before me left no room for doubt. Cole, the man who smiled at my wedding. Cole, who came to my house after the divorce pretending to offer emotional support. Cole, who had complete access to all my old digital files when I invested in his company. He was the one feeding information. He was the one who sold my identity. My stomach twisted in disgust and shock. Why would he target me? I asked, my voice shaking. Agent Miller, a woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice, explained that Cole's tech company was under investigation. They suspected he was using his access to personal data to select targets for a trafficking network. My investments had unknowingly helped him fund his crimes. He needed to eliminate loose ends. "And you, Ava, you were his biggest risk," she said. Before I could react, the screen flickered again, this time showing my backyard. A third figure entered the property, wearing all black and holding something long and metallic in his hand. It wasn't a weapon. It was a tranquilizer gun. My throat tightened. They were going to take me alive. They planned to drug you, transport you, and make you disappear, Agent Miller confirmed. The image shifted back to my living room, where Cole was now on the phone, pacing. I could read his lips as he spoke. "She should have been here by now. If she's with someone, we need to move on the father first." My breath left my body. My father. They were going after him. Panic ripped through me so violently, I took 2 steps toward the door before Reyes caught my arm. "We have units en route to your father's home. They won't touch him," he assured me. But I wasn't reassured. I had to see for myself. My phone buzzed just then. It was my dad calling. My hands trembled as I answered, forcing my voice to sound steady. "Hey, Dad, can you do me a favor and lock every door right now?" There was a pause. "Honey, are you okay?" he asked. His voice was full of warmth and concern, and that nearly broke me. I swallowed hard. "Please, Dad, do it now. For me." Before he could respond, I heard a loud knock echo through his end of the call. The phone slipped in my hand. "Dad?" I said, my voice cracking. A second knock. Then his voice, confused. "Who is it?" Reyes signaled the agents to trace the call location and connect surveillance. The entire room tensed. My father's voice came through the line again. Ava, there are 2 men at the door. They say they're from the utility company. My blood turned to ice. Cole wasn't wasting time. They were executing a simultaneous plan. While one team waited for me, another was targeting my family. In a flash, we were moving. The agents initiated rapid response protocols. Screens lit up with live drone footage of my father's neighborhood. Black SUVs approached his street. Sirens off, lights off, silent and deadly. The tension in the room was unbearable. Every second felt like a lifetime. I couldn't breathe. The feed zoomed in. One of the suspects forced the screen door open. My father backed away, phone still to his ear. Then, out of nowhere, my brother Ethan tackled one of the intruders from the side, appearing like a storm out of the darkness. My father slammed the door shut as the second intruder lunged, but police swarmed the property, restraining them. Relief crashed over me so hard my legs nearly gave out, but the danger wasn't over. The intruders at my house were still active, and Cole was still free. Agent Miller pointed to the screen. We move now. Tactical teams deployed toward my home. As I stood there watching the operation unfold on the live feed, a silent realization rippled through me. This was more than a raid. This was the moment everything in my life would be redefined. The woman I was yesterday was gone. What happened next would not just reveal the truth, it would determine whether I would ever feel safe in my own skin again. The raid on my home unfolded on the screen like the final act of a nightmare. I hadn't consented to dream. I watched as tactical officers swarmed through the front and back entrances, their movements swift and silent. Cole tried to escape through the backyard, but a team was already waiting. The other intruder dropped his weapon the second lasers from 4 rifles converged on his chest. Though the operation lasted less than 4 minutes, to me it felt like the world stood still for an eternity. When Cole was finally cuffed and pushed against the wall I used to decorate with family photos, something inside me cracked. Not a break of fear, but a release, like a chain snapping off my spirit. This man had smiled at me over dinner tables, congratulated me on promotions, pretended to care about my emotional recovery after my divorce. Yet behind every handshake, every reassuring nod, he saw me not as a person, but as a commodity. It wasn't just betrayal, it was dehumanization. I stood in that safe house, surrounded by law enforcement, yet I had never felt more exposed in my life. I wasn't afraid of Cole anymore. I was afraid of how easily evil had blended into the background of my everyday routine. A man I once trusted with my business, even my personal security system access, had been mapping my life like a spider studying prey. When I was finally allowed to return to my home, now secured and cleared, I walked through the front door and stood silently in my living room. The couch cushions were displaced, cabinets slightly ajar. The faint smell of unfamiliar cologne lingered in the air. It no longer felt like my home. It felt like a stage where something monstrous had rehearsed violence. My father and brother stepped in behind me. My dad placed a hand on my shoulder, gently squeezing, his voice soft. "You're safe now." I nodded, but tears filled my eyes because safety wasn't just a physical condition, it was a state of mind, and mine had been shattered. In the days that followed, I learned the full truth. Cole had been manipulating people for years, using his access to confidential databases to select targets, mostly women who lived alone, who appeared emotionally vulnerable or financially stable. He didn't see them as friends or neighbors. He saw them as assets. My identity had been sold on an underground forum along with personal security vulnerabilities. I wasn't chosen randomly, I was marketed. That reality hit me harder than any physical danger could. It changed the way I viewed trust, privacy, and the illusion of control we think we have over our lives. But something else changed too. I began to see the strength I never knew I had. Detective Reyes told me that my decision to fight, to be bait, accelerated the takedown of a trafficking ring that had been evading law enforcement for years. My nightmare helped save others from living one. Knowing that gave my trauma a purpose. Healing wasn't immediate. I experienced panic when I heard footsteps on gravel. I jumped every time my phone buzzed unexpectedly, but I refused to be a silent victim. I joined support programs, advocated for online privacy protections, and began sharing my story, not as a warning of fear, but as a message of awareness and resilience. My father moved in with me temporarily. My brother installed a new security system so advanced it could detect heartbeats on the other side of a wall. Slowly, life didn't return to normal. It evolved into a new kind of normal, one where I didn't walk in fear, but in intention, one where I didn't suppress my anxiety, but transformed it into strength. The most powerful moment came weeks later, when I stood in court and faced Cole for the last time. He didn't smirk, he didn't speak. For the first time, he looked powerless. As the judge read his charges, I felt a calm strength fill me. This was not the ending of my peace. It was the beginning of my reclaiming it. When I left the courthouse, the sky was bright and clear. I took a deep breath of fresh air and realized I was no longer the woman who got into a rideshare that night. I was someone new, someone unbreakable. Not because I had survived, but because I had chosen to fight. And if my story could protect one more person from ignoring a warning sign, then sharing it wasn't just healing. It was necessary. Life will always have hidden dangers, but it will also always offer a choice. Run from the fear or rise above it. If this story opened your eyes or made you feel something real, make sure you subscribe right now and comment where you are watching from. Your voice matters, and together, awareness can save lives.